Manager, call center manager for the city of Buffalo.
Green Director of Open Data for the city.
Assistant Director of Inspections.
Francis Fossil, System Analyst.
And then we have Debbie.
Good morning, Debbie Lombardo, Board of Black Clubs, Buffalo and Erie County. Thank you for having me.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
And then Nate's going to join Mike.
Oh, yeah, and so Nate is our commissioner for Public Works. So he has to go before the Common Council for a hearing, so he's going to be back and forth.
Yeah, understand. All right. Why don't we do a round of our team? I'll start. So I'm Eric Sickinger, account executive for Granicus. I am actually out of South Carolina, and I'm kind of a CRM specialist. I came over from Rock Solid. So when Granicus acquired Rock Solid, I was at Rock Solid for 8 years on the CRM side. So while we're transitioning and doing some work, I'm the SME, I guess you could say, for the CRM side of things for Granicus. Also, I love, we were talking about it on the way here, I love policy and the local government. This is my jam. Whether it was my business or not, I would want to be here. I'm on a town council in South Carolina, and I serve on a couple of NLC committees, including I'm actually applied to be on the FCC Intergovernmental Agency Committee. Like, I love this stuff. I also happen to have it be my job too, so it's a great deal.
My name is Savannah Lane. I'm one of the solutions consultants with Granicus. Been with the company just over 3 years. Started in implementation and then moved into this role, helping support Eric and members of his team. You'll find the passion for public service is really common at Granicus. I'm on one of the commissions for Parks and Recreation for Ramsey County. So really excited to be here and excited to show how we think we can help.
Why don't we have Omar go next? I can see that he's unmuted.
Yes, I'm Omar Rosario. Sorry, my video is acting up, but a VP of civic engagement. So I lead services and product for implementations of OneView for Dynamics. I've been in the business for over 20 years and working with governments that long too. Most of my time implementing 311 CRM systems.
Thanks, Omar. Hector?
Hi. Hi, everybody. My name is Hector Tosado. I've been working with Rock Solid, now Granicus, for almost 10 years now. I've been working with the OneView product since I started in the company. I'm the design services manager. Basically, I work on the implementations, on the technical part. I also help with the demos, participating today as well. Yeah, nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Hector. And then last and certainly not least, Kathleen.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm Kathleen Jones. I am your account manager here at Granicus. I'm basically here to help support and answer any questions regarding Granicus. Eric and I kind of teamed up since we've acquired Rock Solid, which we're really excited about. But outside of that, I support government in the Northeast in helping them connect with its residents. And I'm based out of New York City.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Although it doesn't look like that behind me, but
Central Park.
that's not Central Park.
So that's the intros. Do we want to just get right into slides? Is that okay with you guys? Just do some background?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could just ask everyone to mute themselves so that on the meeting.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Omar, Hector, if you wouldn't mind muting for this next
It sounds
section.
much better, by the way. It was a little muffly before, but
Great.
it's better now.
All right. Well, you can see yourself, I know, but we're gonna get right into it. And so we're starting with the welcome. And I think first things first, when we responded to the RFP, it was under Rock Solid. And in the time in between, Rock Solid was acquired by Granicus. And that for me, it was a really exciting thing. And I'm really proud to be a part of the Granicus team now, really representing the silent giant in local government. and reflecting that really the CRM, one of the reasons why I know we as a company are excited about having the CRM side is it kind of provides the hub for everything else that happens in local government, but also in the Granicus world as well. And I'll pass to Kathleen to go through a slide or two here.
Sure. So this is just going to be like a high-level overview of where Granicus stands right now as a company. Currently, we are helping over 500,000 govies, government workers, serve over 300 million people across the U.S. and beyond. And we're doing this through our Government Experience Cloud, where we house multiple solutions that are built and designed to help government and resident experiences. So, and then just a few quick facts. Currently, we have over 5,500 government customers. Of that, 60K are government publishers. We have a large space in the federal. We have a large presence, I'm sorry, in the federal space. Over 1,000 employees worldwide. We're currently in 50 states, plus Canada, UK, and Europe. And we're also in 48 of the 50 largest US cities. So that's just kind of a high-level overview, and I will touch on these solutions on the next slide, I believe.
Mhm.
Okay. So these are, this is just a snapshot of our solutions. Starting with our website design, we help government engage and serve online by creating websites. And the next two solutions fall under our communications platform, where we're helping government send out messaging to targeted audiences, either through email or SMS. And at the same time, we're enabling those audiences to provide feedback to government. So kind of creating that two-way communication. Next, we have our agenda and video, which is the meeting management solutions. And then we have our digital online solutions where we can create forms. We also can create permitting, licensing solutions, applications. We like to kind of refer to this as our digital city hall. And the star of our show today is our new customer service 311 CRM solution, Rock Solid, that Eric is going to take a deep dive into shortly. And then we also have short-term rental solutions for host compliance and identification. And lastly, we have our public records, which is our FOIA request management solutions. So that's just kind of like an overview of all of our solutions.
Thanks, Kathleen.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Any
that. I
questions?
know
Yeah.
we were talking, Savannah and I were talking, and Savannah, did you have, I know you had some follow-up to that.
Yeah, just a very, very quick overview. We're already partnered with the City of Buffalo for agenda management solutions and the short-term rental host compliance. That's why we wanted to show kind of the Granicus suite of solutions. We're excited for the opportunity today to talk about how we could continue that partnership. Granicus started as a meetings and agenda like solutions company back in 1999 and has continued to acquire best-in-breed solutions across the whole government kind of vertical. So we're excited that you shortlisted OneView. We thought it was an amazing product, certainly a best-in-breed CRM solution, and we're excited to talk more about how we're partnering with other cities across the U.S. So thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
So our LMS system that was acquired by Granicus after we bought it. As of next year, I believe you are support for the LMS system that we had that you guys acquired. Talk about a little bit on what the theme is for Rock Solid. Is this Rock Solid CRM that we're looking at, or is this Granicus' CRM? Does Granicus have a CRM? And are you going to sunset the Rock Solid CRM eventually?
So that's a great set of questions, and we wanted to start with this so that we could head off that kind of conversation if it came up. So iFieldU is the agenda and video solution that y'all have in Buffalo today. We acquired that back, I believe, in 2016. And at the time, we had two other meeting solutions. And so you're correct that it's being sunset or not receiving ongoing support after this year. We acquired Rock Solid because of this 3-1-1 solution. It's proposed the OneView for Dynamics system. So we are positioning Rock Solid's CRM system, the one that was kind of submitted in the initial round of the RFP. We also acquired Rock Solid because they have One Meeting, which is a better, more comprehensive meeting solutions than any of the other kind of 3 that we had in place at Granicus already. So we are not planning on kind of consolidating or moving away from either of the 2 products that Rock Solid kind of had created and continued to work on. We're planning on better integrating those into our suite of solutions and moving forward with those.
Does Granicus have a 3-1 solution that is not Rock Solid?
We have a like digital services solution that's based out of the UK. It's not a comparable product for the US market. It doesn't have the same like deep integrations into public works and back office systems. It does have a CRM component in terms of like accounts, rents and utilities, but again, that's primarily in the UK market. So we don't have a competing product here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your questions.
Yeah, I'm just to add to that, I think from the conversations that I've had with the leadership team and hearing from what they've said from the executive leadership team, they look at CRM, the Rock Solid CRM, as a kind of a completion of, well, of course, they're never going to be complete, right, in the digital services market, but a completion of kind of that vision of a platform, digital platform for cities. And without the right CRM, we were talking about this last night, without the right CRM, really the pieces end up living independently of each other. And by having the right CRM, which definitely is OneView, based on our install base, based on the traction that we've been getting with cities, the way that cities have been responding and using the CRM, it allows for that kind of cohesiveness around having that hub in the city. And a good CRM, like the OneView for Dynamics that we're going to show you today, really, in the leadership team's perspective, makes all the other Granicus products more valuable and stickier. So it's kind of it is more than just its own worth, because it'll make each of the other products more valuable because they all talk to the CRM.
What was the daily?
Q4 of 22. And just to touch on a couple of this, we've had these sorts of conversations with a number of the cities that you see up here. And while this certainly doesn't reflect all of our customers, with City and County of Honolulu, so nice we did it twice. I guess one for each, one for city, one for county, but Columbus and San Antonio and El Paso, representing a lot of cities that are pretty similar to Buffalo. Of course, not, in terms of weather or size necessarily, but just in terms of some of the complexities. I think Columbus is probably, while it's larger.
I see a city in Alaska, so that's probably comparable.
I think, Columbus, just in terms they're larger than Buffalo, but just in terms of how they operate and how we look at the city enterprise perspective, I think that there's a lot of analogies there.
Who was the most recent? Yeah.
The most recent of those slides, of those folks.
Or not even that those, but who's your most recent?
Sonoma County, California, and Santa Barbara. Oh, sorry? Peoria, Arizona.
Columbus, when did Columbus come out?
Like 3 years ago.
And these are all 311s, right?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So, do you want to talk through this a little bit?
Yeah.
Right.
So Eric and I partnered together as we got this kind of shortlist invitation to go back through the RFP. It's been a little over a year since the initial response date. And so we wanted to pull out some kind of key points from that RFP in our initial response and just see if these are still like the goals and priorities that the city has with the new system, or if any priorities have shifted or changed in that sort of year since the RFP response. So replacement for the current system to provide better access for reporting, ticketing, better access to data across the omni-channel kind of intake that y'all have. Increased community access across the multiple languages that y'all serve in with an ADA accessible format for the online presence for this service, and then better access to kind of reporting in that view into what a constituent is looking for and how they've engaged previously with the city. Are those still the kind of primary goals, or have things shifted?
Pretty much.
And no major software purchases by the city that would impact this project. You don't have a new phone system, or you still have Infor public sector, right? All that kind of stuff. Okay, just wanted to do some of that confirmation before before we got too far down it. Going through onto OneView and some of the advantages when we were looking through, again, rereading the RFP and even up till last night. By the way, we stayed at the Richardson Hotel at the SUNY Buffalo. That was the coolest thing. I can't wait till it's finished. It's awesome. So we were sitting in the.
Is that what it was?
Oh, I thought it was a dorm.
Sure, you go with it.
I'm glad I know that now and not last night, because that would have freaked me out.
Definitely, it's no good.
As
hospital.
yeah. As we were kind of as a team kind of talking about, I think it was like 11:30 or something like that. We were going through some of it again, just one last rehash. We were thinking about some of the things that were that made OneView special to the city in terms of what you're trying to do. The ability to just visualize data, have access to that information, that the entire system is built using Esri and GIS. So that, and by the way, we can't show a lot of that to you today because Hector, who's going to be doing the demos in Puerto Rico, and for some reason, sometimes when you try to access Esri services from Puerto Rico or outside of the lower 48, it like blocks you. So we did the best we could with it.
I think he sent the message.
Oh, that was I think someone on your team
Hector.
that had sent a message. Lombardo.
Okay.
No, Hector did send a message.
Oh,
to
he
him.
did? Okay.
Yeah.
I answered.
Oh, he answered the.
Yes,
Okay.
he answered, thank you.
And I think the other side of it is the really opportunity for growth that's all built in. So this is what we do, right? We don't service Fortune 500 companies. We don't service, growing startup companies. What we do is work with local government for 311 and CRM, particularly. And so you'll find there's a lot of stuff that just out of the box without any configuration just makes sense and just works. So like we noticed that you don't have any knowledge base articles that were like pre-built. And so I think one of the biggest values outside of just the system itself is that you have people from Omar with 30 years, Hector with 10, myself with nearly 10, that you have a lot of people who can share a lot of those best practices, kind of like take your hand and get you to the place that you want to go, with the intention of being iterative from there so that you can start from a really good place and continue to work towards greatness rather than just deliver you a system and then just send a bunch of change orders every time you want to make a change. Okay, scenario demo. I think this is really where we're getting into some of the meat and potatoes. I don't want to spend a ton of time on this slide. This is just the concept of what a CRM is. I think this should not be anything new for anyone in the room, but it's just the way that we look at it. We think that a well-designed CRM, well-configured CRM allows, thinking of council giving them the ability to have access to information that makes sense to them, not just a bunch of numbers on a page, and really give you that opportunity for big data, where sometimes just the concept of big data can be really challenging because of where it's just living in a bunch of different silos.
Question on that.
Yeah.
Just real quick, so the 4 channels coming in, all of them pointing to the operator. Our system now, our mobile and website, just go right into one, call it OneView.
Yeah.
They all just go into OneView and then they
Sure.
go to the back office. You don't have to have an operator involved in both channels. Is that just do your operator use these? Is the expectation to have the operators review all web and requests that come into the system?
Not at all. Although, and in fact, that's one of the benefits is that the OneView system that's in place. So we have 2 variants of OneView. The one that we're talking about today is OneView for Dynamics. But with 300 customers using OneView, we've gotten really good at utilizing self-service channels that we'll show you today that and asking the right questions and using things like polygons and layers and all of that so that it doesn't have to be triaged. And not only does it not have to be triaged, but if someone is using a self-service channel, that information that gets passed to IPS should be just as good as if they talk to an agent, so that they don't have to do a verification truck roll or contact that submitter to ask a follow-up question, that we can do a lot of that work up front so that when they get that ticket, they can just get to work and not have to pass it to an agent or go back to the resident. So that's actually the self-service channels, which is actually where we're headed now. So, and I really, hopefully this shows better than what we try. So, 61%, that's gonna be small. Huh. Well, we say okay. So what we want to start with is the self-service side, and the response includes a native iOS and Android application, a responsive tool, which I'm actually showing to you here to make it feel and look like a native app, and a desktop embeddable widget for the website. So it's all those different channels as part of that self-service model. And there is a ton that we're not going to have time to get into today on the mobile app. But I think a couple of things you'll see as a through line here, the ability for self-service so that you don't have to go to support or ask or get a change order just because you want to make a change. And the ability that you can very quickly and easily make updates to the app on the fly so that the app is fresh and doesn't look the same a year from now as it does today. Kind of like your city website, where it changes with the things that are happening in the city, that when I go to the city site, it's going to show me the thing that's happening this week on the banner, right? That same kind of general concept can work for the app. So I wanted to go through in a scenario of giving you a feel for what it looks like on the self-service side. So you can see on the bottom there, I've got home, that's where I am. Messages, that's anything that I got from the city, whether it's a message or it is a update to a ticket that I've submitted or a phone call that I made to the city that came in as a update. Then I have a create a request, which is what we'll do here in a second. Requests that I've submitted, all the history of that, and then nearby requests, which will show all the tickets kind of in my neighborhood and what's happening with them. You, by the way, as a city, are in control of what types of tickets can show on that map, right? So there's no, if you want to say code enforcement issues don't show on the map, then it just won't appear. And of course, we never show any PII or any resident information. So when we think about doing self-service and submitting a ticket, what we wanted to do, I think my mouse went to the wrong spot again. We want to make this as simple and easy as possible so that people don't need like tech support just to submit a ticket. So pretty straightforward. I'm going to do house inspection here, following the scenario a little bit. And you might not have noticed it, but I could search for what I'm trying to submit as well. I didn't have to navigate the menu. Now, because I'm not on my actual phone, I don't have the blue dots and where I'm at. I can drop a pin, I can enter an address, and we can use your geocoder to make sure that you're getting authoritative data rather than just using Google.
As far as the mobile piece goes.
That's a big problem for us right now.
What happened? The addresses don't match up.
This is some, whatever, we're gonna get some mobile.
One of the other things is we can also take, because I said Esri is throughout the platform, right? So we can take your base map and just make that the base map that residents see as well. And there's some other really cool stuff if we have time that we get into on the GIS. House says it is. It's not where it actually is. It's like, oh, great. So if I'm going to submit a ticket and that ticket, it looks like that exists already, we'll flag it as a duplicate so that your staff or the folks working in IPS won't have to manually be merging tickets and closing out bad tickets that are duplicates. So we'll surface those. And if that ticket is the one that I'm trying to submit, then I can select it, say that one's mine, and then ask for notifications. So this way I don't have to submit another duplicate and I can get notifications on that ticket.
On housing violations, there could be so many different issues that are coming in on a housing violation, like the one that may be out there for 50 Homer might be the roof is caving in, but somebody else wants to report garbage all over.
Sure.
So they may not know what the true guts of the complaint is though.
Mm-hmm. I get that, and that's actually part of where I don't want to say consultancy, but the experience of the CRM team comes into play. So,
Question.
Yes, sir.
To add on to that.
Yeah.
So that business process, are you going to assume that we have that and just going to piggyback, or you said that consultant is going to help us redevelop? That is,
I don't want to overpromise in terms of, I mean, it's not intended as a full consultancy, like go out and spend $500,000 for some consultant group like Deloitte to come in and do that. But we can, as we go through implementation, a lot of that is also a feedback loop from us to you and from you to us around the design stage, and we'll get into that in the implementation.
okay.
But like on your site today, this is how it's designed, right? Where it's basically these different questions during the submission. But what we would do is instead design it in such a way that it's not housing inspections and then they answer these questions. It would be using subcategories and branching questions and all of that, so that we're only presenting the questions that are relevant to them. So we can say, is it a tree issue? Is it a debris? And they can pick the thing or the things. And that also helps make sure that when we surface a duplicate, it's a match.
I think that's a good assumption. So the system that we have is.
It was updated.
It was updated in 2014, so, obviously with the city, we're always looking at ways. Residents and.
Yeah, that's certainly a piece of that for sure. Let me look at, for example. So I can search, we'll do long grass in this example here. And I'll just drop a pen quickly.
Like long grass is the high grass.
Snow, grass, rubbish and debris, you'll get multiple, complaints on one property.
Sure. And so what we want to do is make sure, and that's part of the design, I think, is we know that inside the city, it's a lot of it is translating your case types into plain language that makes sense for the residents, so that you're not taking a ticket that was submitted as X, but it really should be Y, or they submit it twice because there was this over here and this over here and it sounded the same, or they put it under other because they couldn't find it. Those are the things where Granicus and the CRM team's experience comes into play, and we say, you're still a client, right? So if you say, if we win, so if you say, that's the way we want to do it, and we say we suggest not doing it that way, and you say that's the way we want to do it, we'll still do it that way. But a lot of it comes down to the feedback of us saying, that's not plain language, or that might confuse a resident, or it might be better too. And that's kind of that part of that design process that's part of the implementation. For example, we have this concept of like information panels, so that when a resident goes to submit something, popping up like it's going to be longer than 9 inches, right? So otherwise, they're just mad at their neighbor and it's a 6 inches of grass. Well, they've already been alerted that it has to be longer than 9 inches. Or if I select backyard, that if there's a fence and they can't see it, they can't do anything about it, right? They need a reason to be on the property. So kind of flagging the things that cause frustration or challenges for the people who are receiving these tickets. And what I'm hoping that you see reflected here is that it opens up self-service, but also kind of takes the hand of the resident and guides them along the path so that it increases the quality of the request. When you work with Baltimore County, one of the things they said is we want to decrease the number of requests that we get overall, and we want to increase the service request deflection, and we want to increase the quality of the requests that we get. And so it was feedback from them to build out some of this additional functionality that we found really helps. Once I submit it, and then from there I can take pictures, video, audio, and I can check a little box in case I'm worried about the public seeing the submission. Once I do this, it hits the workflow and does a bunch of different things, of course, depending on that workflow. Traditionally, that will go, once it hits the workflow, it will automatically be sent IPS or Treekeeper, or an email will go out to the person who's going to work on that, or it'll show up in their dashboard. Obviously, 100 different things that can happen depending on what the ticket is. Just for time's sake, I don't want to spend too much more time on the self-service side. One of the things that is a change from our response is, in our response, we said we'll use virtual agent for chatbot. That could still be an option for the city, but we would prefer and we would suggest replacing virtual agent with CityBot's product, which has become really a best of breed product in that world. And Bratton is a close friend of mine, by the way. He lives in Charleston, I live in Columbia, so we're like 90 minutes from each other. I partner with him a ton of times, and they certainly are leading the way in terms of chatbot and SMS chat, along with a chat widget on your website, even social media chat. And what's great about that product is it's standalone in terms of answering questions and getting people to the right place. But that if it turns into like a request, it just comes into our system as if it was a self-service request. So the two tools play really nicely together. Brent, he's a man. We were talking about him on the way over here. I said I'd be in trouble if I let. Hold on, I'm sorry for your time. All right, so I think, Sabrina, was there anything else that I wanted to cover on that in terms of self-service?
And so the response back to the person putting in the response.
So what will happen is every time that there is a status change to the ticket or a comment, they're going to get a text, an email, or a push notification. You have the ability to opt out, but they do not. They're automatically opted in for responses to their ticket, but they're not automatically opted into the opportunity for other messages. So I know one of the things in the RFP was we want to be able to like scrape some people and send them like, people who have, send them a survey, people who submitted a thing about the parks, right? There's a park problem. We want to scrape everybody that had a park issue and send them a parks survey. So we can do that, but also they can opt in here inside the app where they can subscribe and opt into those channels as well. The marketing lists is an option from inside the back.
You said self-service, now this is the mobile piece. Is it basically the same as the online because it's responsive?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the sizing difference really at the end of the day.
But on
And
the mobile piece, the GIS will pick up where you
Oh,
are
yeah.
as far as if you're in the city, where isn't, and hopefully
Exactly.
you have to type in or.
well, if you're in a browser, it's just a coarse GIS
Yeah.
versus a fine GPS when you're on a phone. That's a distinction. Yeah, the experience is almost exactly the same with the exception of on desktop, we do give you a little bit more flexibility with like what they're gonna see. So you can have just a submit. Like it only shows submit. Or it only shows view issues, or it only shows FAQs knowledge base. So you can have them all in the same, so it's a one-stop shop for residents, which is the direction all the cities are going. Right, I'm going to stop my screen share and I'm going to hand it over to Hector. And yeah, what we're gonna get into is, so that was all self-service. We're gonna get into some operator functions now, 311 agents, all of that good stuff. Oh, I'm gonna try. Yeah, there's a layout. Where was that?
Right.
Oh, where it says layout?
It's great. Nice.
Okay, nice. You didn't mean to do that, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying. Mouse isn't where, again, the mouse is not where it's supposed to be.
Easier for you to do that.
Oh. Passive aggressive. And I do want to do we might need to do a little bit of a zoom here. Okay.
We got it.
Yeah, okay. So what we want to do first is just role play. And to be clear, Hector, who's going to be on the other side, and don't forget to unmute Hector. He is not agent, right? That's not his job. So please be patient with it on that. They're going to see us go through it, and then we're going to stop and go back and show you what we just did and what we just saw. So we'll start with just a phone call. So the phone is ringing.
So this is the
Agent.
application, desktop application.
Yes. Correct.
Hello,
Hector,
thank
are
you
you-
for calling. Yeah, hello, thank you for calling 311. Hector speaking. How may I help you?
Yeah, hi. I was calling because I wanted to report, I think a pothole. Is that what I
Huh?
wanted to report?
That is correct. That's what you wanted to
Yes.
report.
How did you know?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. I do have you in the system. Just to confirm, Eric Sickinger, have your phone number 692-6575.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Give me one moment, please, while I work on your request.
Yeah, I was just driving down the street and, I know the roads get bad on winter because of all the plowing and stuff, but I lost my hubcap and my trunk popped open and my luggage fell into the pothole. It was pretty bad.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that information.
Uh-huh. Hello? Are you still there?
Hello. Yeah, I will need additional information from you, sir.
Okay.
Would you like to be contacted by email or phone from the department in charge of this?
Yeah, please send me an email. We can be updated.
Okay. Perfect. I have your address under 591 East Star Avenue. Is the pothole close by?
Yeah, that's actually the address where the pothole is. That's amazing that you knew that.
Okay, sir. Moment. Okay. Oh. And I'm putting in the intersection. Okay. Perfect. Please. Sure. So we've submitted the pothole request. The department will be in contact with you. It's been assigned to COP 810 team based on the location. They'll be in contact in the next couple of days. Anything else I can help you with, sir?
No, I think that's it for now. Appreciate it.
I would go ahead and share the KVA on pothole on City Street in case you have further information
What's the
on
KVA?
this. Knowledge-based articles, sir, so that you can have information on how the city manages potholes in the future. Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. All right, so let's go through that again. Obviously, giving Hector a little bit of the business, because I'm certain he doesn't know what KVA is. So let's go back to the start, Hector. And I just stood up, just so you know, and I'm going to point to the screen as we go through this. I'm not too close. So hopefully, and again, even though the text is a little bit small, you'll understand kind of with my pointing where we're at. So when the phone rings, one of the things that we did not, you didn't see, but in fact, Hector got excited when he saw that you have UCCX and Finesse, because we have done that so many times, and it creates a really great screen pop and integration with that CTI. So when that phone rings, because I'm in the ready state, it'll pop me right to the contact record. And what you have on the left-hand side here is the script, which can be just very generic, or can be based on the case that you're working on. Then I think one of the biggest, most important parts of a CRM is that contact record, right? So what you're seeing is the summary, but you can also see, if we go over to like post activities and notes. Is this demo environment out of Columbus, Hector?
This is the staging. Correct.
Yeah, so you'll see some city of Columbus stuff in here. So post activities and notes will show me a full history of who this resident is and the history of their interactions with the city in that one view. So that if they say, I called last week about, then you can get to that tab and see that, find that very easily. And if someone makes a complaint, you can look through, you can search through that timeline. So it really gives you connectivity to who that person is. There's a lot of other additional information that can be stored in the CRM as part of this, like home address, subscriptions to various messages or alerts from the city. Whether they are a community activist or stakeholder, you know, mayor's best friend, whatever is like relevant information and notes on that contact.
You would be so kind.
Mm-hmm.
They were freaking.
Yeah. So that all that happens, you know, depends on the nature of the call, right? Obviously, on what you're going to be looking at. Then, yeah.
Quick question. So
Yeah.
this is based upon the caller. Person at the house, and maybe something, but you know, are we basing it upon the person who's calling or upon the address of the location?
We're based on the individual. Yeah, not the home address.
Okay. But do we have an ability to look to see on this particular address what are the other calls? In Buffalo, you can have multiple dwellings, right? You can
Sure.
live upstairs, downstairs.
Yeah.
And so, or you can around that area, you just want to.
So are you trying to? Yeah, I don't know on the 311 side if it makes sense to know if there's other people at that dwelling, but certainly the ability, I mean, I don't know. Where would that be more like on the reporting side, or where would that?
For inspections or.
Oh, inspection side, okay, for sure. Yeah, that can be surfaced as part of that. As part of that information, and we can say things, we have a concept of like, are they the owner of the property, or are they just an occupant, right? So that sort of information certainly can be surfaced. Then the next, so all we've really done so far is who are we talking to? Then based on, as they're talking, before I really know what they're calling about, the quick notes gives me a place to put that context because I don't know, is this going to be a service request, an information request? Do I need to transfer them? So all of that can go, and I'm pointing to it, Hector, the quick notes. So that way I don't have to try to remember the things that they're saying. I can put it into the quick notes.
When you say the quick, is that part of the interaction then, or is that gone one?
Oh, it's part of the interaction. Yeah, because we know they start talking as soon as you pick up, right? And so that person is trying to figure out where am I taking this person? Well, they haven't said enough yet, but they're already starting to talk. So that way you have a place to put it before anything else is happening. And copy that over once we get to something else. So then we get into the knowledge base. And that knowledge base can be keyword searches, related searches, basically, of course, the subject matter experts and the folks that have been here forever, they already know what they're searching for in the knowledge base, but that's the first step. So park will bring up parking permits or handicap parking sign. And then of course, as they continue to type, it'll narrow that down and get them to pick the knowledge base article that's wrong. So it's knowledge base article driven traditionally, although there is things like quick entry where you can skip some of these things. So if we go into the knowledge base, you can click one of them after. From there.
Give me.
You have a knowledge base article?
That one was a bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
Give me a second. Yeah, there you go.
So, there we go. So the knowledge base article can be for internal facing, it could be internal and external facing for residents as well. And that gives me how I should respond to this caller about provide them the information, answer their question, guide them through maybe the service request intake process. And it allows me to get to the next step. So from here, and you can't see it at all, but from here, basically, I'm either ending the call by just informing and resolving. So it's just kind of, I shared the info, done. Or if I have a little extra time, I can add additional, I can compose and resolve and write a little thanks for calling, yeah, go Bills, and then send it out. Or I don't know the answer and it needs to be an information request, or it's a pop on the street situation. So create service request. So despite all the talking that I've done, all I've really done is we saw the person who's calling, took some quick notes, and then went to pop. That's all we've really done.
In the script is something. That's something about good.
We have a template, but certainly we can, much would prefer to customize it and design, configure it for the city. A little bit on creating a new case. Traditionally, what we're doing from here is entering any required information. You can see we copied over the quick notes into the details of the request.
That was the agent that copied it over.
And she didn't copy and paste. She had copy notes, which copies it over to the details of the request. And then that's all the general. That'll basically be pre-filled because we already know who, the what, and we have the quick notes. So then it's just the request information tab, which, oh, that's a build for Columbus, isn't it? I don't like that one. Go to the address page.
Yeah. Yeah, these are flex fields based on the request type on the call.
Right. So that's their design. I think this makes a lot more sense. So you've got the issue, you copied over the quick notes, then it's just where is it? And one of the things that you'll see in a future demo when we show the next piece of this map that shows up, the layer that the map is showing can be relevant to the issue that they're submitting. So it can show that
Street lights or
or the it's not parcel, it's
parcel.
yeah, it's
Address
the
points,
road,
parcel.
the road like street segments. Yeah, segments, thank you. Yeah. So that you can know whether it's the cities or whether it's DOTs, right? Those sorts of things. And copy over relevant information. So I don't know, did you have anything built on this from to take? From
Uh,
the lab?
Yeah, correct. So when we drop the pin on the map of this particular request, two things to note, right? Additional attributes, so the user doesn't have to click on the layer or go through the layer. You can pinpoint special information that you want for that general location, and then we copy data that's on a layer to the request for any reason, right? Business rules, assigning,
So-
routing, stuff like that.
Yeah, so that's a really cool value is that, you might think about like tree trimming requests. So that you have a tree layer for the city, and when they select that tree, it'll copy over the relevant information from that feature service, right? So last trimmed date. And so that'll be copied over to the tech automatically. They don't have to do any extra work. Or in this case, whatever that label is from the table from GIS or from city.
So conceivably, somebody can call operators taking the information about one particular thing. They don't have to go back all the way out to put something else in. They can just click on something and do that.
Yeah.
Because normally right now you pull on one issue, okay, wait a second, gotta go all the way back out, come back in. You're saying that whatever is the attributes on that street, they can click and say, hey, what else are you calling about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the, usually by the time people call 311, they're already so annoyed that they have 2 or 3 things to complain about, kind of thing. Like, while I have you, my neighbors really
The
have.
operator that you were
Right.
going off on. No.
Yeah. Like my neighbor, and by the way, my neighbor's music is really loud all the time. Can you send somebody out about those kinds of things end up piling up? And I think that's it from an intake side, but I want to make sure that we answer the.
So one
question.
more
Yeah.
question. I saw that on another screen, you have the different colors boxes.
Mhm.
Was that similar to when you showed us on the self-service where, and I like that feature where, educating residents about, hey, you know what you're calling about is really up to 6 inches. Is not, is that a suggestion to the operator to say back to the person?
Yes, it's
I assume
essentially.
that every operator has that in their head, which they do, but it's always good. They may not know what the city code is or the law or whatever. Is that what that is?
That in conjunction with the knowledge base together, those are quick tips. And in fact, I can read, this is, please use this service to pothole in the city that needs repaired, provide the address, and then some additional, so it is exactly that.
Okay.
Yes.
Say for something operator has to say to be part of the process.
Yeah.
You have to inform them of something.
Yes.
Is there like a checkbox for them to go off and make sure that they noted that they have?
We need an audit.
Yes.
That they actually.
That they've said the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
We can do staff only fields, and for each of the different information panels, we can have different colors. And so if it's like, this is a nice to know in case they ask follow-up questions versus this is something that we really need like you to say out loud. We
It
can
might be something from legal or whatever that.
Sure.
We are required to say to them or not, or,
Hector, did you want to add something?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, there are also conditionals, so you don't have to have a wall of text here showing up on an initial creation, right? Depending on how the agent starts answering a list of questions, you can have other, pop-ups, other info panels, show up as they go through the process. So that, just to mention that, that adds value to what you're discussing.
Yeah, I think that you can make them required or not required, and then that guides your contact center agent to answer what's needed for that type of request.
So, yeah.
At the end, obviously, every has to have it, but I didn't see like in case number, because that's one of the things.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do you want to, where are we at in this process? Hector, can you close this case out?
It's right up there.
Sorry, you want me to close the call out?
Number. So if you want to complete the call so we can see.
Oh,
kind of.
Sure. Yeah. Case numbers up top here.
I think it's popular with the headset for their.
I can zoom in.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully that helps.
Oh, yeah, that helps, Bob.
Yeah.
I can circle it, point it. There it is. That's the case number. You want color coded as well? You could do that.
Oh,
Okay.
all right.
Maybe forget my
Fun
other
stuff.
question.
Thanks, this is good.
So at the end there, you guys emailed them the knowledge base case article
Mhm.
and the case number.
They'll automatically receive their case number and they'll automatically receive any other information that was
Delay
part
or
of that,
something
right?
like that, and that information would come up for the operator to be able to share with them if they don't. They want to be anonymous for whatever reason. We do get ones that.
Sure.
do want-
Yes, and you can let them know, I mean, if you're anonymous, you know, you're not gonna be connected to this,
Yeah.
thing, right? We don't know who you are.
Are there more on housing violations?
Sure,
type thing,
all the time.
Or police.
Yeah.
Emergency police issues, type activities.
You know, in Florida, they said it's illegal to report code enforcement anonymously. Because they want people to be, if you're gonna report somebody to the law for having long grass or an abandoned vehicle, you're gonna give us your name. That's what they said. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, part of it's. Will happen in the blue state.
And
When tenants file complaints, or even when it's a neighbor, most of the time they know who it is anyway.
yeah, that's true.
So,
It's not too hard to figure out for most.
That's
They're blaming the 3-1 operator.
We have one right now
That you told them everything.
Grove.
You can see in my backyard.
Right. So that's all operator, that's kind of the day-to-day is.
Then all the script on the left-hand side, what they're supposed to be saying
Mhm.
throughout the call, it can easy, I mean, and I'm not saying I like it, but make sure they're truly following the process. This
It
is.
gives them a
almost
backup,
simple call
right?
regarding
Yes.
something That may be a
Sure.
little bit more complex.
It gives them a backup.
They pop out that script. Or
Yes, they can, well, you can take it away, yes. So in fact, when we started this, go ahead, Hector.
No, I mean, yeah, the knowledge is there. I mean, I just wanted to point out this is something like Omar always likes to mention, right? If you want more real estate, you can also do that. So if you don't care about it, take it away, and
So
you can
do
always,
both.
have
Either
fun
way,
with it. Yeah.
that or just like you want to. Yeah, because we understand that is very, very small.
So like in a scenario like a pothole, sometimes it's more than a pothole. It could be a cave-in, could be
Sure.
something regarding a street cutter in there.
Mhm.
There's certain questions we want to make sure they ask. Where in there does it say, say they call for a pothole, but we want to say, okay, was there recent construction on the street at that time?
Yeah.
So that they have to, state to them.
Do you have, Hector, well,
Right.
so on the page where we said, where it had the information panel in green, and it populated some information from GIS. So that's a custom right there. So that's a custom field based on that request type. And I think the mistake that, there's a lot of companies that will build like a CRM and they just say, well, how do you want it? And then they build you like a Frankenstein of everyone, I was watching Parks and Rec last night, is the, let's say camel, it's a horse done by committee, right? So a CRM done by committee is like a camel. So this is like the best practice of, don't have 6 different request types for pothole, right? Have one, and then just ask questions, determine what that pothole is. And maybe it is just some gold dash that needs to be thrown out. So this is where those questions would be.
Do they have to click on that when they're on the call? Do they have to click to that
Yeah.
tab though to be able to get to that, or is?
Well, they won't be able to submit the ticket without that information.
Yeah.
So it's required
Oh.
information.
Yeah, you can see the required field there. Sorry. You need that. Like, if I don't drop a pin on the map and that field doesn't get populated, I won't be able to fill it out to save the request.
As an example, yeah.
That's an example.
That's the required field for that ticket is I have to drop a pin in the map. The other example would be, so I think one of the questions that, just to kind of maybe translate a little bit, Hector, is I start out in general and that's where the case starts. Generally from there, am I going to address next and then request information?
For general address and request information, correct?
Okay.
General address. And
So the address
I
usually-
believe we are moving address in the next quarter. We are moving address here. because it's our normal flow that we've seen customers. The natural flow is more like that, so we are moving
Right.
that forward. So it's a more 1, 2, 3 tab.
Right.
Okay.
So that is anything else that you want to dive into on the intake operator side of things? I mean, there's day-to-day work stuff that we want to show you, but from an
Just
intake.
on the duplicate side, say it was already there, kind of like you mentioned. Want to add something to a housing case that's already open, that's not mentioned in there, but they're already still an open case on there.
Actually, you might have noticed Hector doing that already. First, when I go to the map, and again, address should be second after general. So when I start the case, it starts me in general. I'll just click to address. But when I drop that pin, it will show me as the operator the other same case types on the map that I can click and view. I think, yes, yeah. I can click and view the information about that case. So if that exists already, then I can set that case as the parent case and make this new call as the child.
So when they deal with that, okay.
And on that note, everybody that's associated from the office will get notifications if they choose or whatever.
Flows all the way down.
What do you call the caller's information? Where's the client or caller? Who's filing the complaint up there?
Oh, that was on general. That's how we
So
started.
that goes first?
That was automatically filled out. So if you think back, so we searched for knowledge base and we said it's a pothole in the street. And I said, well, for pothole in the streets, depending on what it is, we'll get to it in 3 to 6 days. If it's just cold patch, blah, 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 blah. So where's the pothole? And then I got to this page because I clicked create a service request. And it started here, but it already had who I am. These notes were taken as we started the call. So then from there, I would go to, everything here is already filled out. I just go to address.
I guess if it wasn't, what if they weren't existing? If you didn't pick, CTI didn't pick it up?
Then it would just ask for entering required fields that you as a city said we need this information. Whether it's first name and last name or email address required. I think in most senses, yeah.
Can I skip back and forth? Can I put the complaint in and then put the name in, or put the name in and then put the complaint in, or no?
Update.
Does the name have to be locked in before they move forward with
the complaint
request?
That's a Hector question.
Yeah, correct. So because when you're going to generate the case, we are relating the case record to that contact that is created. You can avoid that, but it's a lot more steps. So the best way is to the way we've done the flow, the best way is just to manage the contact first, get the who in place, and then you can jump to the what and the where, right?
Hector, that's
Sure. I think that's the more steps, our direction he was saying is that you could just use it as anonymous and then go back and update that with the right contact information. But it's really up to you as a city in terms of what information is going to be required. But
the other issue with the clients, a lot of times for some reason, I don't know if it's a national thing or it's but we have people changing phone numbers all the time.
Oh,
so
sure.
CTI may not recognize anybody, but they're under.
But they're a contact that exists in the system.
Because of different numbers.
Yeah. And we do have the ability to help you dedupe and clean that up. I know one of the things on here was migration, and we were kind of wondering about that because you want something clean and correct, and you want to dedupe and you want to do all of that stuff. So there's a lot of that's worked out.
You said earlier, when somebody called in, we can actually put a note, it could be Mr. So-and-so, but she likes to be known as such and such.
Oh, sure. Preferred language
or
pronoun, right? Or any other sort of information. In fact, when we worked with.
And will that come up when?
Oh, yeah.
Or you have to look for that?
Oh, no, that's the first thing that shows.
Okay.
Is language and we have customer type as on there, but when we this is deployed in for the country of Panama for their 311 and in Puerto Rico generally, and there's a lot of LAC that Latin America that uses OneView for Dynamics. Really, OneView Dynamics came to the States like 4 or 5 years ago. And it really has, that's where we've gotten a lot of that, is just in the last 4 or 5 years, that growth, 7 of those. So we learn from those experiences of having things like preferred language and having the ability to have a middle name, because in some cases they have, it's like, you have those custom
From
fields.
Puerto Rico, it's not the middle name,
It's
the
the,
name.
yes. Well,
Not so much on the operator side, agent page side, but more in self-service we didn't talk about. If somebody is Spanish speaking or that, is there a default where they can, everything's gonna come up in Spanish?
Oh, yes.
rather than,
Yes.
English?
And in fact, on the self-service, it'll automatically come up as Spanish. Now you need to provide us
What other is?
English and Spanish.
And so, and then if they were to send them out, the response, would it be predominantly in English or would it be in their native language?
Great question. I want to make sure I get it right. Hector or Omar, for status updates or comments, if the preferred language is Spanish, will it be sent to them in Spanish?
Our system notifications come in
Yes.
English and Spanish, depending on their preferred language, correct?
And it's the same coming in if they use Spanish, putting in the request and they're typing in Spanish, it's gonna come to Tom in English, so, right? Whereas in
Will it come to him in Spanish?
It will come in.
Yes, because that was their submitted language.
They submit it.
But they submit it in Spanish. I mean, that's their,
Yeah, no, I know.
that's completely custom text, right? So, no, we could utilize the same kind of thing that likely, your team would, which is, hey, Google recognizes it in Spanish and your preferred language is English, so you just click auto translate. That would be.
I'll take the time. I'll just show the San Juan, Puerto Rico piece in Spanish just to show how that looks, right? The modules in Spanish, the text all in Spanish, creating an account, a request in Spanish, and stuff like that. Everything is localized on that end. Just to share it real quick.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's just the 2 languages, right? Spanish and English.
Correct. Now, the CRM side, like what you're seeing here, we can have additional languages as their preferred language, so that if someone calls in Vietnamese and you have someone that can speak that or some service that you can get into, then you can recognize that that's their preferred language. And when it comes to like reporting and getting access to how many people are reporting issues or contacting 311 under, you're looking at the demographic side of it and saying how many people are calling us who speak, maybe we need to hire somebody who speaks that language, then you can pull that information.
And is the script the same for every, is there different, as far as the user that's logging into the CRM? Is there different abilities they have? Some may not be able to see some things other users can. For example, the scenario, blizzard hits, we need volunteers to unfortunately come in and assist on the phones, like a dumbed down script to be able to assist with just certain type of calls to be able to populate for them.
Sure. In fact, when we work with, we have a number of customers in Florida who kind of like have hurricane mode. And I think it was Burlington, Ontario, one of our customers who they have a storm setting that they kind of just turn on. That also changes a bunch of things, not just simplifying. There it is. But it also
Changes.
it can turn off particular case types, right? Because we're gonna be dealing with
Not a priority.
a trash not picked up when you've got 20 feet of snow, right?
Not what the caller states.
Like I'm saying, well, we've had that where
Or
it was snowing on
priority.
one half of the city, and we're picking up leaves on the other half.
And is that something that can be changed quickly, or is that just something as far as roles that are like when you're setting up,
Yeah, it's a great question. Hector, Omar, when there's, for like the storm setup for Burlington, when they have that design, is that something that support does, or is that a toggle that an admin on their side can do? In terms of prioritizing storm-related issues?
In terms of like enabling, disabling request types, that's something admins could do definitely, from that perspective.
we have
Just making sure.
two different roles out there depending on what they're
Right.
enabled.
Yeah, and we can also have that sort of set up through like security or who the user belongs to a particular business unit, they only see their request types. It's a couple of ways we can attack it. So definitely something that during the implementation process we can go through the weeds and really build a proper approach to that.
The other thing is that we can set up workflows to disable or enable specific types under specific scenarios. Let's say it's a storm event, right? And you only want to receive 3 types of specific request types and nothing else. Then you can disable them temporarily, the rest, and just receive those that you want. And that can be set up too. That's something that we, during implementation, will gather those requirements and establish the right process for it.
Thank you. I want to get into, I think I got a little off script. I want to do a little bit on knowledge base that we covered, but I know that Savannah wanted to talk briefly about the knowledge base articles.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into reporting, which I think is the fun stuff. I don't know how.
So we saw how knowledge base articles show up for staff members as they're triaging cases. As we go into the back end and actually create knowledge base articles, it's a WYSIWYG kind of created area. So you can either bring in content from the site, we'll create a template for you as part of implementation, or you can kind of just put in free text if it's something like an emergency situation, things have changed and you need to create something very quickly. You have the ability to do that. Looks like the screen has stopped sharing, but that's okay.
I'm going to share.
You can see it. You threw you under the bus quick, Eric. You just said.
There's workflow associated with knowledge base articles as well. So you have the ability to control versioning, roll back to previous versions if you need to. You can see who is viewing them as well as what their ratings are. You might have seen at the very, very bottom of the screen, as Hector was sharing, that there was like a thumbs up or thumbs down. So if staff members are taking those pothole calls and they're like, this is a totally useless knowledge base article. It was created as part of implementation, but processes have changed or people are frustrated and I provide this information, you have access to really granular reporting on that as well. So you can continue to iteratively improve. We'll work with you as part of implementation to like set up the templates as well as those kind of more common case type knowledge base articles. But it's something that you have the ability to manage in an ongoing way. And as you'll see across kind of the whole system, there's workflow associated with this as well. So if you have people who have the ability to create knowledge base articles but not publish them, we can go through that multiple stage approval process so that content goes live for staff members or for residents when it's approved, appropriate, and acceptable to be shared.
And I'm sorry, you may have said this. So it's the knowledge base for this information is rested somewhere else. Where do you? And you spider through that? Do you go through like a web page or you're just directed to say this is where all the information is at, or can you go somewhere else to find that knowledge?
Yeah, so there are a couple of different ways that we can implement it. So on the like mobile app or on the or the responsive web portal, we can have FAQs be one of the kind of widgets up at the top or widgets on like the homepage of the mobile app, so that people are directed there first, or as they go through a service request process and start to type in what they're interested in, we can have pop-ups or slide outs of the knowledge base information that is publicly available so that they have access to that. As staff members go in and start to submit a request, you saw as Hector was kind of typing the types of things that someone was reporting, knowledge base articles came up first, so that if it was just an inform and resolve, you have the ability to see that versus going in and actually reporting the whole issue. If someone was just calling to see how they could volunteer in the Blizzard to help take calls, you don't want to have them go through a service request first. It's just providing them the information and keeping track of how many times you see that article.
Only because sometimes we'll have maybe we'll have that in knowledge base, but another department will put something out. And it happens, put out, and we won't know about it, right? Hence why we have the news on, So just don't want to rely so much on what's there. We might have to find it somewhere else. And our operators are good at finding it.
I think, and one of the things to that is that those knowledge base articles are the intention is that they're dynamic and that they're responsive so that you can embed a URL or other web content in those knowledge base articles, or have a redirect to, I'll just use like DPW, right? So Department of Public Works, and it's a thing that can link to that page where that additional or new information might live in case the knowledge base article is not updated, or where some important news might be.
Okay.
Can you import from or attach it back into?
Yeah, you can have it.
Maybe
You can. And you can also,
searched by the knowledge base engine?
the attachment won't, but what it's being attached to is, right? So,
kind of get around that lack of OCR with tagging or by just copying and pasting a Word document into the body of the knowledge base article. But you have the ability to attach like images and infographics as well. So that would be the tagging keywords.
If, I know you said you can thumbs up or thumbs down, is there anything that say, our whole thing has got 95% SME from, say, Public Works is notified that this knowledge piece is not working, or is that just something we'd have to dive into to find out, or is there something automatic that triggers?
I think that's actually a perfect segue into reporting.
it is. Let's answer it and then we'll get into reporting. So did you hear the question, Hector?
I did not. If you can
So if,
repeat it,
let's
please.
say there's a knowledge base article that's really awful and everybody's downvoting it, giving it a thumbs down and making comments on it. Is there a way that the person who's in charge of that article or an SME would know that's happening?
Correct. And there, all of that downvoting goes back to a field inside Dynamics, and it's a matter of pulling it out and kind of reporting on it. Definitely.
So would I have to run a report, or is there a way that I could know? Is there a way that I could know that information by having an alert or an email?
No, I mean, we can send an email. Correct. We can send an email. We also have on the KB, on the USD side of things. There was another button above that's called improve article as well. So the agent doesn't necessarily just have to upvote, downvote, but there's a way that you can, if the KBA has an owner, let's say Eric Sickinger or E Sickinger, at Granicus, whatever, and you can improve article, and then you can send an email to the owner of that KBA. What would you improve? The resident said the phone number is outdated. Please do something about it, right? And you can add that to the process of improving those KBAs. So yeah, I mean, you can go either an automatic way, maybe some additional downvotes were received. You want to send an email when something like that happened, but there's also a more actionable way. As an agent, I can be more reactive on it and click it and set something up. Yeah.
Thank you. Was that answer? So, all right. Getting hot. I want
I can crack the windows.
some of the fun stuff, right? This is the data. This is some stuff that you're seeing. This is some of the visuals. This is the output. And in my mind, this is kind of where the circle gets a square, if you will. Like it's kind of where the rubber meets the road, is the reporting and the visibility and the transparency and the access to all of this. What you're seeing on the left-hand side is just one example of a report. And when you look at reporting, I hit the button, but it didn't go. Here we go. So there are 4 different ways to get access to reports. One is a dashboard, and we'll show you that in just a second. Second is canned reports that are just kind of pre-built. We're going to show you the metrics, numbers, the things. Power BI, which is my personal favorite, and then advanced find, and that's for the folks that really want to get their hands dirty into the data. So I'm going to stop my screen share. Hector, if you want to share starting at dashboards. I need to move.
Yeah.
You still have issues with license with Power BI or?
Right.
Only your license. I got thinking only years ago.
I can see. Oh,
So one of the things to note actually about Power BI is you only need one production license to produce the reports. Anyone can view a Power BI report. And because we're a Microsoft partner, we can work on the one production that's not being used. So the dashboards is really just a way of putting together the data. And what you're seeing now is really the back office where people like manage their tickets, their workflow, the stuff that's coming to them if it's not going to IPS or tree. I know that's not a tree. What's the tree term? Tree keeper. Thank you.
Keeper. The huggers.
Dashboard right here, that's Power BI, Power BI, not require any additional Power BI licensing.
This dashboard is actually inside of OneView for Dynamics. So this is not Power BI, this is Dynamics that you're seeing here. Which to access that will require either a team member license if you're just viewing reports and working on tickets, or a power user or enterprise license if you're creating it.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
You only listen to enterprise.
Yep. Yeah, and that was one of the changes that we want to make. So what you're seeing, this is more of a, I want to see what's coming recently, but let's look at a different view if we can, after a different dashboard. The dashboards are something that we build with you during implementation, so that it's showing you what you need to see in the way that you need to see it. So whether it's, some people will want to see the detailed data and some people will want to see the pie charts, but effectively anything that's in the system can be reported on and can be made to visualize as part of a dashboard to provide access to that information. So what we're really looking at is just a couple of different ways that other cities that we've worked with have done this. Which, if you think about it like Power BI, it's kind of that concept, right? Except that it's all inside the system and live. So show us one more here, Hector, in terms of the dashboard.
Yeah, I like just to show the drill down real quick. If you are keen to just going down the rabbit hole, then you can quickly do that on this side or this one.
The users can make a change to their own dashboard that they're saying.
Yeah, correct. Drilling down, and the other one would be a more department day to day, and with the SLA piece.
Is there a limit on how many dashboards? I'm sorry, go ahead, DR.
No. But we do want to limit just from a implementation perspective.
Yeah.
Build us 100,000 dashboards.
For example, Tom with inspections, he may want a dashboard that's going to show him one, how many open cases they have, but also a breakdown by the inspector that's assigned to each one of those.
That's actually really common.
Easy to
yeah, that's actually this one right here, which shows which person is working on what their workload looks like. And of course, this does not work because Kirk has 28.
Somebody's working and everyone else is sleeping.
We got a few of those.
It is a sales environment, demo environment.
Right.
And it everything.
This will show, like, for example, top 10 requests by type in my department, right? Or the SLA for tickets in my department. And so whether that's graphical and all of this is just a visual representation of other data anyway. So there are no limitations in the ability to have dashboards, just to be clear. But if you say, as part of implementation, we want you to have 10,000 dashboards, is a very different thing than saying, we want to have, 2 or 3 different types of dashboards for each persona.
9,000 is okay.
Yeah, just don't quote me on that. And so that's one. And I want to show you the canned reports on this as well, which these are the pre-built in the system. You get OneView for Dynamics, you have access to these reports. So they are the master reports, the SLA reports. It kind of is the weekly breakdown, the daily breakdown of what happened today in the system. Show a lot of standard information based on a standard template, but with your breakdown. So like SLA, your SLAs are going to be different than in other cities, right? So all of the average number of days open, percentage closed, percentage open, that kind of master report. And then a couple of other, we'll show you one more example here. Summary of requests for the week. Right, summary of request dash. So it's going to show you, again, these are the canned reports. So that way quick, easy access to the kind of stuff that a lot of people ask.
On that, just an example, we do have walk-ins, would that be considered like a walk-in on the?
Oh.
Visit?
Yes, in fact, there's a number of, I know Peoria, for example, they're decentralized, so they also account,
Yeah.
right? So that's a type of channel, that's a channel, right? So in addition to visit, I mean, you can define those.
So they have multiple locations, they're not in one central office.
Right. So their challenge was, how do we centralize, not just the data, but, Joe calls 6 different people trying to get different answers and stuff. And that's for them, that contact who actually came in and how they can see.
No, people wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
What about, can report showing resolutions? Not so much requests.
So say that, tell me a little bit more.
But we didn't really touch base either on that, on how the inspector's gonna close out the case. We saw the front office, we didn't see the back office. I think he's referring to, correct me if I'm wrong, but what the resolution was for the case, or just
Total numbers, either way.
Sure. Hector, did you catch that? Do you have a report that shows like closed or resolved tickets?
Yeah,
The CAN report, or would that be something that we would build?
But how many requests have been closed?
Is that the question?
Yeah, basically timeframe. So.
Okay.
We got a report that showed us how many requests came in for a longer time period, right?
Okay, sure. So we have that as a CAN
So
report?
this is an example, right? So these are requests. This is an example report, right? We do have that data. It's a matter of how to get at it. But this is an example report. You'd have a total amount of requests. How many have been closed? Again, these are just data based on demo environments, right? Total close, and then you can get like a split of how long they've taken in terms of being closed. 1 to 5 days, 6 to 10 days, longer, percentage that have fall under the SLA time that we provided them, right? So this is just data that's in the system. We track SLA day, how long you should take to close the request. If you close it in a particular date, we can seg that data as we want, right? And this is an example of a report that really breaks down, how are we doing day by day? Are we doing SLAs, and how many are closed?
Yes.
Dashboards we've shown show this. Other SSRS report that I showed show this. Other CAN reports, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the point is, yes, that this report is showing the total closed, and then you can, of course, then drill down on that report. If it's on the dashboard, when this is a view that's in a dashboard, then you can just drill down on that data.
And I know a lot of people say, no offense, but it's easy, boom, boom, boom. We've gone that route before, and then when it gets turned over, it's like a nightmare and trying to get what you truly want. As far as creating a report, a specialized report, I don't know, all the time is up against it. I don't want to key in on everything, but that's one of my worries is, you hear all the time, that can be done, yes, but when it comes down to somebody coming to me at my desk wanting a report on something and trying to configure it, sometimes it's not as easy as was stated.
I think this is the perfect segue, Eric, to advanced find.
Before you do that, I want to answer this question. So I see on here, problem types. Those problem types go back to relate with the department that it's in.
Well, in this report, it's just showing the request type, but yes, they're in Savannah, not the person in the city. They're titling them. The first thing that it's showing is the department or the group.
Okay, so you can move it. It's just that way.
Yes. Yeah. Because they're thinking, that way they type in code and it's showing everything for code. So that's how they design. That was their simplifying for them.
Yep.
I don't like it, but that's again they're
by department,
right. So the department's first, and then in the word for the case type, which that's how they want.
Publicly available.
The
city of Cupertino has a publicly available Power BI dashboard that's driven by this data, so we can share out, assuming it's acceptable in the process.
Yeah,
and I'll link to that.
There's actually, we also include 7 Power BI and reports as well, which we'll get into. So why don't we do that first, and then we'll do advanced find, Hector, just for time's sake. So 6 on here, I think we have a 7, but first is heat map. And the way I look at this is, this gives you the ability to effectively run a report without having to build a report, because you can just then drill down on how many code enforcement or maintenance cases, where's the hot areas, and drill down on for this month. And then you're just changing the date created field, clicking on maintenance. It's kind of the poor man's version of building a report.
Yeah, if there's no output, right, you can output if you don't. It's the mayor or somebody asked for it.
You can, actually. So from here, once you get to the detail, you can then drill down. Show drilling down to the details.
Yeah.
Then-
This is showing this data, but you can definitely get at the more data in terms of the
Yeah,
export.
so that's just showing the street, because it's a heat map, it's just showing the addresses. Well, let's go to the next one. So,
Friends.
so this is a year-over-year comparison report, quarter-by-quarter report layout. Go to the next one. Hector, we'll just go through these quickly. A breakdown of,
That is reason.
yeah, the status of the different case types and where they live. And again, the ability to click on any one of them and then get the resulting numbers or output. And then once you have that, then just creating a report out of the data. The SLA report that shows you graphically. And the way I look at this is take this output and make that like a slide deck, a live slide deck on the TV. That's showing what's happened, and just make the time today or this week as the time frame.
Wait, what's SLA 1 and 2? How elaborate?
Oh.
There'd be 2 different.
Yeah, we didn't. So SLA, we have 2 SLAs because the first is the response time by the department of acknowledged, received, we've got it, we're working on it. And then SLA 2 is completed, closed, resolved.
May I make that all public?
And then do you want to do request now, the last one there, or second to last one?
You didn't say their street.
So this is kind of what I think of when I think about like the screens that I saw when I walked into the operators is in my head, I was imagining these slides, just these effectively slides that zoom in and out as over the course of the day.
So the city has an open data portal where we have 311 service requests already.
Yeah, we saw that. Is that it's ArcGIS? No.
No, it's a Tyler Tech.
Okay.
Socrata.
Gotcha.
Do we have access to the raw data?
You sure do.
So.
Yeah, so we have primary way to get that data directly is just via API access, which is included in our response. And we have our own proprietary API, or you can use the Dynamics API as well. Although there's a little bit of an asterisk there because this is not vanilla Dynamics, right? But then no Dynamics is really vanilla Dynamics anyway, because it's going to be highly.
And do you have a data dictionary that you could provide?
Yes. Yeah. And we don't just give you an API and say good luck.
No, there's some documents. There's a Postman collection that we share. Like I share, I'm the person in charge of that at the moment. And there's a Postman collection we share, document and stuff like that. Yeah, that goes.
You were talking about.
I was just asking, our current system, we're able to go into the port server for SQL Server and create advanced reports.
Right.
And reports.
Yep.
How would we do that?
That was the last piece. That was a great transition. Hector, do you want to show advanced find? And that is your report build.
Too big.
Oh.
Trying to fix the screen to not have too much stuff. There we go.
No, yeah, you're okay. You're fine. You're fine. You can leave it right there just like that. If you want to zoom in just on that box using a little zoomy tool.
That works.
That works.
I could do that.
I meant your No, you're a little,
It's magic.
you're, yeah, there it is.
You do me to
Magic.
So.
Zoom me
This gives
tool.
you the ability to basically query anything the way that you want to query. So any field that's inside the system, whether it's preferred language or whether it's pothole or whether it's the address of a location, the advanced find gives you the ability to do that. So what are we looking for? We're looking for requests, or what are we're looking for a request type that equals house inspection with an activity that equals open, and that's my report. So there's a lot of course, a million different ways.
You can add as many different,
Qualifiers or conditions.
So if we go to the query tool, we just use standard SQL.
That's can they use standard SQL?
No, for this reporting, that's not. It's just through the interface. You can hit the fields that you want and go get the data that you need. And there are I mean you don't need to use SQL. You can for here you can go into related tables and get related data.
And they
do
they have direct
more
access
advanced
to the
filters.
Sorry, do they have direct access to the SQL database? Or to the database using SQL?
We do not provide that at the moment on that direct access to SQL. But again, that's where the Dynamics Web API exists, where you can query the data. You can use Fetch XML as well to query the data. That's something you're familiar with as well, but not SQL directly, not SQL query.
What happens when you hit the query button? Left there?
This is just the screen. So this is I'm in the query tab.
Oh,
If
it's
I
the
click
screen.
results, it gets results. If I query, get the query tab. Yeah.
now, one question while we're just finishing up the reporting thing. Prior to this flow requests.
Yeah.
Just like them, Tom will, well, every department does, you get tired with them. One of them, a simple one, is just by a certain address. I want all the 311 calls to 314 Humboldt Parkway, which right now we have a basic report case. It's pretty easy to just pull that information. I do get some, and I don't know if that would be the one you were just talking about that want, because you never know a certain thing we're looking for, like all sewer grade complaints on Main Street or whatever it is. It could be very broad, and you might have someone put it online or something, which kind of goes to reallocation cases, which we can talk about. Either if someone submits something to sewer authority that's really a water authority, how they would reallocate that case from sewer authority to the user, back-end users in water. But how I could easily find all that information without days and days of research.
Sure. Hector,
Yeah, I can answer that. Everything that you query can be saved. So in this case, you use it as save views, and then you can use it in your regular screens that end users not needing this advanced tool can do. Like Hector can go into the request view in the system, and then you can filter data using the little filter buttons that show up there, and then you have the results. Same here, you just create your request or your view, and you save it, and you give it a name, and you can use it for yourself, you can save it, and from that moment on, you can use it from here, or you can add it to your main screen.
Show us an example, Hector, of the output. So once I hit the search, what do I say?
On my
You could also choose what columns to show, what columns not to show, and export to Excel.
In this case, there's no response based on what I selected there, but yeah.
So yeah, just get rid of that line. So there's your report. And by the way, you might notice that this looks kind of similar to like some of the views that you saw on dashboard. That's basically what it is, right? It's running that query and putting it together either in detail form like this with the information in the fields, the columns that you want, because you might not need the XY, right?
Yeah.
If you're just running the street.
You choose what column. It's like I don't know what
Correct.
you guys. call it, I'm sorry, but like the guts of the case, what the text is that somebody submitted, is that a column that could be put up there?
Yes. Yes. And so if we go back one page here, Hector, to the, making an edit to this, just to show, we want to add in any comments. We're a flex field. I just want to add a column that shows flex field center. Which I don't know if that will actually work for the example that we're doing, but.
Yeah, this is being ad hoc, but yeah, you can set up flex fields so they show as well as part of the flex field summary, so you can make this to pull it out from there.
You have the topic, you have the ability to export.
Yeah, what options are you able to export to?
It's an Excel export, right, Hector?
Yeah.
Or a dynamic worksheet as well. So that
It's Excel. It's Excel format.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Anyway. You can open it up and then skew it as you want.
What's the other outputs that I can get in terms of reports other than Excel? Like, can I do CSV or raw
I mean,
text
you
or
can get
something?
the Excel and then split this out to CSV as well. This is, but again, this is using the advanced find tool through SSRS subscriptions. Through our CAN reports built on SSRS, you can build subscriptions on that, and those can be sent in like HTML and like embedded into the website or attached as a PDF, attached as an Excel format to be able to push that through there as well.
I'll add that, for example, Columbus uses the API today to extract data and put it into their data warehouse for Tableau, and they do all the analysis also that they want. Being a cloud solution, we don't really give access to the underlying data tables for performance and security reasons. To maintain our security standards and certifications, we don't give access to database, and I don't think any cloud vendor or cloud solution does that. So you do it with APIs, or you use our interfaces like this one, which are kind of where like an advanced find, I would say more of a power user. And then there's also search tools that you have on pre-built views in the system. I don't know, we'll have time to show you that, but you can also filter then and export to Excel from then if you're, a regular user.
Just a regular user. I wanted to, so there's a lot left to cover, and I think that we got a little sticky there in a couple of spots. One thing I do want to say on integrations, Infor Public Sector is a pre-built integration. We've done it for like 8 years. It's a productized integration. The sheet that I handed out to you shows that how that integration functions and what you can expect. It is one of the listed integrations. Infor Public Sector is under the Hansen REST. As many of you know, it's gone through a lot of iterations and names.
So this is a full integration. What version can we?
As long as it has the API for us to connect, whether you're on-prem or not. We just need to make sure that we have the ability to hit an endpoint. And it sounded like, at least when this was released, from a work order system perspective, there's not really a lot of confidence, and maybe you might be doing an RFP in the future for like a work order asset management kind of system. Am I speaking out of turn on that?
It may be.
For public, tons of little departments that don't have any employees. So this has a work order system, right?
This may.
It has the ability to, I would call it work order light. It doesn't have like time and materials, right?
See a little bit of it.
Yeah, like the individual like working on a request style. Yeah, let's do that.
Perfect example. We have a team that's or like an impact team that may go out,
sure,
out in the field to do something, and there may be multiple things.
Yeah.
So you're right. I guess we won't necessarily need.
Although, I mean, we just don't want to tell you to do something that it won't, or tell you that it should be used for something that it really shouldn't. It's not really designed. There are ways that you can smush it in right, to do work order light. But it's not CityWorks, it's not Lucidity, it's not Maximum,
No,
right?
the system we're in now isn't, so. Just something has to be there for that.
Sure, yeah, so let's do that. Hector, if you want to show,
While you're doing that,
you're looking at an individual
I'm gonna
ticket.
be mindful. I have one
Yeah.
community member here. She had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. We got into the weeds of the technical stuff, but she's a block club member. And so she asked the questions regarding the data, and so we're broken up into different councilmatic districts and I guess layer or different things. She represents a block club or a neighborhood watch or something like that. When you popped up areas on whatever, can we layer to say if this is this person belongs to the block club or this person is a part of this neighborhood or in this
Like in a community activist or community leader,
Yeah.
something on those lines?
or if they're part of this organization, it will help the board of block or the block need to reach out to mail.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's usually kind of a council or district approach is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So yeah, you will figure out where your resident lies and if he belongs to any association or group. I don't think we have it in this demo, but we do have it in San Antonio where you can add. I don't know if Hector will have a chance to show you that. You do have the ability to configure if this resident belongs to X associations, and we do have the ability to say, based on his address, he belongs or she belongs on District 1 or District 2 to Councilman.
And then we can pull up from that district all that information.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
So that, in fact,
And
that's a really
you can send out notifications and alerts via the app based on like that group specifically, like Council District 1, and just send all of them a notification. So that can be segregated in the system and reported on.
That I did see the data is BIS that is available. All right. Abby, I know you may have to go.
I'm good so far. I just, thank you for answering that question. It'll help us a little bit as well.
Thank you.
I know time is.
Yeah.
A couple things. One, I don't recall anyways, have we seen the back office, the end user?
That's what we're just getting into. Thank you. So when someone is kind of logging in and doing their job, what they're seeing, this could be just their dashboard, it's their task list, right? Their to-do. And I'm looking at my team requests that are open.
Yeah.
So this is just my to-do list. And I can be alerted via email when a new ticket comes in mine or my team's bucket. And let's go ahead and click on one of these, Hector. Look at this. So do you want to talk us through a little bit of the first thing that I need to do when I get this ticket? So it was assigned to my team, and it's not necessarily assigned to me yet. The first thing I'll need to do is grab it, right? And click, I'll work this.
Correct.
So that was in the team queue. I just grabbed it by saying, I'll work this. And now from here, what happens next?
Correct. So just to note a couple of things there, right? We assign it to a team level, but we assign ownership through the work by. So you can have multiple users in a particular team and they all work together, but there is ownership involved. This particular example, just to show, because this was part of the questions that were provided, right? If this integrates, for example, to Hanson, you can have the details of the integration back into CRM. Just as an FYI, just so you know what's going on in case there's a resident calls. From here, definitely you can verify, flex fields as were submitted, as were created. And this customer wants to be notified by email. Again, this is a very specific process to Columbus. And they also keep having access to these info panels. So they know kind of what was said to the resident, what was informed and where they're at. Address data. From a request side, departments also have access to the entire spiel of GIS, layers, base maps. Go ahead.
you can just focus the mouse on the one thing that you're doing, just move it around a lot and get a little dizzy. So,
Sure.
so I basically what you're saying is I'm working on the ticket. I read the additional information. I can see where it is, and from there, traditionally I am doing like an internal step of either dispatching an individual inspector to look at it, or is there like a business process workflow on a ticket? So I grab it, I validate it, I make a comment, and then it goes into the next step in the queue as part of like a workflow.
Correct. It can be set up that way, definitely. There is a way that we can refer someone else to work on this through the referred contact functionality. Is that part of the process? So let me not get Hector as well. Let me get someone else, right? So I can just click there. Yeah. You can come back and add someone into the list so that they can go ahead and work on that. And they can follow up the request, right? For the pothole on City Street, they get an email that they need to do something now. They were referred a particular request. I think on that end, notes. I think there's something you also mentioned. Notes on the process. What was done. I commented. I called the resident. I sent this over. This is kind of like internal staff notes on that regards.
So then what's happening is I sent out an inspector, the inspector looked at it, and they took some notes. That's all internal, that I'm taking some notes on it. And then some tasks can automatically be created. Let's say when the ticket gets created, they created a housing inspection request. As soon as that happened, then it created tasks, right? And, oh, there it is. So you've got inspection, start date, end date, a scheduled inspection field, and tasks that can automatically be created when a service request is created. So I think it was Columbus that said, when there's a mattress in the street that gets reported to us, we need to send out fire, streets, police, right? Like you've got to send out a whole bunch of different people to put down cones. Then someone needs to go pick it up. So there's like 3 things that need to happen in order. So those would just be automatic created tasks when someone creates a mattress in the street.
Every, like, you can define workflows and statuses and assignments and auto assignments based on statuses. All those things can happen on workflow, and then all those things configured are part of kind of the implementation process where we gather requirements and needs for assignment and statuses and status reasons and tasks needed. But being a robust like back ERP type CRM system with Dynamics, you can do a lot of things. We can be here a long time discussing all those workflow features.
There's a lot of options.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So does each one of those tasks have an SLA, or if it's breached because it may involve different departments?
You can create a task only based for that specific issue and assign it to someone, and that person gets an email saying, hey, you need to work on task, whatever, and you can come here and say, I've completed the task, add a note, add a picture, then continue your process. All that can be configured here.
There was an additional follow-up though.
As far as picture, like say it's done through the app,
sure,
online, or even I'm assuming an operator could attach a picture if needed.
Sure.
Would that be under the notes section? And is there a way that, and I'm not trying to pick on city workers or anything, but they may not click on the notes and realize there are pictures? Is there anything that can notify them, like in the main guts of it, that there is an attachment or something that they should notice?
Did you hear the question?
Yeah, I heard that. Yes, I'm trying to find one. Yeah. I am trying to, this is an example. So you do get notified on the banner on the request. There are notes. If the notes has an attachment, it will also say that the note has an attachment, right? So as soon as I open up the request, there's a notification box that pops up on what's current. What should I notice from this request, so that I can click on and know that something's up on that regards.
The system has the ability to send out email triggers on most any action in the system. We would, under implementation, recommend best practices, because you just don't want your inbox to be full of notifications every day for each single request.
Notification fatigue, right?
Yeah, or they get ignored after that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we usually try to recommend using dashboards and just opening the system and look what you have pending based on whatever needs you have, but notifications are definitely part of it.
And you showed like assigning it to a person maybe that's on his team, but what if it's assigning it to, like I say, water, assigning it to a different entity, say public works or something?
Well, so it needs to be ready to change the request type, case type, for example.
Can the name of the type change if someone was entered wrong? Is that
Yes.
possible? And could it stay under that type because it may be a multiple type of thing, but just
Change it to a different.
end user basically?
So that would be the owner field. That would change. So if I need to, what I would likely do is either, go ahead. Actually.
Correct. I mean, on one of those comments, right? If I know it's assigned, that was initially created pothole, it was assigned to this team, they did their work. If the business rule is now I need to assign it to someone else, I can use the assign button above, which basically just change the owner, and I can pass it forward to someone else. I'm just going to select a random 110 route supervisor, assign it, and now that team in their dashboard will see this pothole on City Street, and they can go at notes and see what's up. Why did I get assigned this? Let's see the note, and I can see it's
And
my
all
time
that history is documented, so it's like ping-ponging your case back and forth or whatever.
Everything every change.
Yeah, there's a big audit history in the system.
Yeah.
I can show you here. Everything is audited on who did what, on what changed, on what field to what field.
Just what you just said, I just seen how they would close it.
So yeah, close it out.
That's it. There's a big list of stuff here, but problem.
Which gives you also that flexibility,
Configurable.
right? Beyond just saying
100%.
closed, because it's not going to be closed every time.
Close, action taken is what we use now.
Oh, bless your heart.
No matter what you say, somebody's gonna have issues with it, but.
Right.
Might be resolved to one
And that's
person,
it.
not another, or whatever it is.
And the best practice is that when you even just get the ticket, that there's an auto response. I think about code enforcement, they should get an auto response right back saying, please don't expect this to anything to happen in the next 2 weeks, right? Like nothing is gonna happen.
But that's why I asked a question, especially self-service. When you put it in and they getting the information back with city code, or there's an expectation. Sometimes they don't know that, code or whatever it says to do this or not to do that or whatever. So I'm a big proponent of as much information to get to them, and let them know that we could take it, we're here, but this is what the law is. This is what the code is.
Exactly.
Kind of going from there.
And I think that reduces callbacks to
Yeah.
311 as well.
Close it out. I know you have a drop down of different, I'm assuming it's just a code or whatever,
Yeah.
what it is. It doesn't change any notes given to them or anything, but you say the caller that's being notified of it, that would be the note section, right? Like, say, like inspections, for example, has many different responses that we try to do as canned responses as much as possible, just so there's not any craziness, silliness going on. Property was inspected on, boom, owner was issued a notice of remedy, callback inspection schedule. To make sure they're seeing what that response is that the inspector is closing out with.
So that as part of an automated process, they're getting more than just closed or closed can't resolve. They're getting the additional information that's part of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that part of the
Yes.
way?
That's part of the workflow or automated process as part of the implementation and or design, which
So we're not gonna give them, in this scenario, you're just giving them this open.
Sure.
An emergency, it's open and closed, or giving them.
No, there's configurable responses. So as
Okay.
you select the drop-down menu, you're associating that with a workflow that has that canned response attached to it.
Is there a way to build in canned responses so for the inspector, shall we say, they may have 15 different options of different, can that already be so they
Yeah.
can just same thing,
they
drop down?
can be, and then you can also, once they select that 31st option in the list, whatever that
Yeah.
was, I wouldn't suggest that as a best
Yeah,
practice,
yeah.
but then as part of that can also automate a message to the resident in addition to whatever that status
That
was.
could just show for the people in the teams for the building inspectors, not pothole crews or anything else wouldn't be able to see that.
Correct. Oh, yes, there's a whole bunch of
Good, but the CAN
Visibility.
response to the resident, but they can, the inspector can add.
Add the
something to
additional context.
that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
saying, trying to save them time, boom, boom, and then you need to.
And I recommend all the inspectors use other, I don't like most of the canned responses now because that's actually what infuriates the complainants. It is. So, and then they can put a date and time and actually the narrative of what happened. One of our sister cities, when you were talking about, or Florida, their canned response for interior complaints is, have you notified the owner? And then the canned response, if it, and they have to answer that. And if they say no, it says the owner will be notified and you will be contacted. They do not allow interior complaints without the owner knowing or response to them. So,
We can-
because they say it's
So
unfair.
we can ask that question.
So I don't know if you saw that out there, but
Yeah, that's,
they say it's unfair. You can't complain on your landlord
if you haven't told them yet. Right. In fact, we can even block them from making the like if they're using self-service and they say no, we can even block them from making the submission. Now, of course, then what they'll do is go back and say yes, so that they can submit it. But at least they've said it, right?
Yeah. So there's some sort of designer you guys use for self-service and the mobile app?
There is, and that's accessible to you all as well.
Okay. Yeah, we use one now. So.
Both on the UI side, like the look, feel, branding content, and the way that it appears on the.
Yeah, because we have a lot of requests up now that have conditional responses.
Right.
If you said yes to this, they'll hear. Yeah.
We talk about live to go, or I know we're kind of
going implementation timeline to go live. I believe our response was live go. I think our response on the RFP was like 3.5 months. And Hector, Omar, I know I was planning, Omar, and you really talking through this, but I think we've kind of dropped in today as we've gone through this around the waterfall approach of our implementation methodology. Omar, from a timeline perspective, the 30-second version of implementation?
To me, timelines are very dependent on availability and the amount of people involved, departments involved. I mean, we've done implementations in 3 months, 4 months, 1 year. It really depends on a few things. When we do our analysis, how many, let's say, departments are going to be involved? How many business processes do we need to automate? Or are we going to keep our default configurations? How many request types? How many users we'll train? All those go into a timeline. With what we know, if I call it an average timeline is 4 to 6 months of implementation. But if, let's say, there's 3 integrations now that we need to involve, then it goes into a little bit more because we depend on third parties or third-party testing or user acceptance. And in our implementation methodology, we define that in the analysis phase. So the first thing that happens, I don't know if we have that slide, Eric, that we can go through.
Oh, I'm showing it right now.
You have it there.
Yeah.
Okay. You have it right now. So let me show my face here. So in our implementation timeline, the first thing that happens is we go through an analysis phase. And in the analysis phase, we'll do a few things. One is we'll revise the schedule and all the tasks. We'll ensure what's going to happen in terms of what deliverables per each phase we'll get and how long they will take. And we'll establish what are our KPIs and toll gates and status reports. One of the big things that happens in this phase is also a communications plan. So in the communications plan, we'll define the way that we'll present status reports and how recurrent they're going to be, and who will get what via what channel. If we'll define, for example, if we're going to have a steering committee approach where we need to make decisions via steering committee, or we have the people experts to do that. All those things come together in a communications plan along with the schedule. And that becomes analysis phase, because there is where we understand the full magnitude and scope of the project in terms of integrations, departments, users, communications, and how the system will interact at the end. I sometimes I don't really want to commit to say, oh, we can do this in 5 months, and then we start our analysis and we figure out that you have another project that needs to be implemented that has a higher priority, and that will get in the way into our implementation process. Or we have an update that's going to happen in your third-party system that we need to integrate to, and we'd rather wait till that upgrade is done before we complete our integration phase. So all those things come into play when we do the analysis, right? Sorry, you have a question?
No, as far as upgrades, this was the evergreen model, right? Where you
Yes. That was actually something we called out at some point in our own internal thread to mention that it is that evergreen model, and we're not delivering you a software that is immediately end of life when we deliver it, but that it is based on that SaaS and evergreen model.
That's which one of the updates, and are they chosen by us as a timeline, or do you guys just do them when you're ready to do them?
Well, there's two different sides to it. So the public facing side is like the mobile app and some of that functionality. There might be a UI update that those kind of live independently of each other in terms of pushes and updates. Those just happen. You're told well in advance. You have a test environment that you can see all that happening in. Usually those updates are more cosmetic than anything else. Hector, Omar, from a code push and update perspective, do you want to give a quick version of that? The cliff notes of how often are updates done to the system and what control they have over when those updates happen?
We do quarterly updates, and those come up with release notes. Usually they happen, we go through a quarterly process to do it for, let's say, for the first 3 months. We prepare for that quarter release, and you get the release on the 4th month of the year, and so on and so on. We usually deliver release notes 2 weeks prior to a release, and that goes into a stage environment. During that stage process, if there are significant updates where you need to do some testing or training, we work with you to understand the need. But we want all of our customers on the same version at the same time, just for purposes of support and implementation. We don't really have customers on version last, version 6.
Right. Trying to avoid branches.
So we have had
Hold on.
situations where a customer says, no, I'm sorry, I can't have this release out because there's sufficient reasons for it. We do have that ability, but it's not our normal process because it delays. Now we have to come up with another services approach to have another team do another update at some other point in time, which is disconnected from the regular process. So short answer, we do have quarterly releases, and in between we will have some hot fixes, updates, and all on the schedule of those releases are always announced.
And the training for major upgrades, updates, all that stuff is at no cost?
Yes.
Yeah, any training that really has to do with an update, if it were needed, it's included. If there's a very specific training that you want to retrain a lot of your staff on the system again, and let's say you want it on-site, on-premise, then that goes into a services engagement because it's outside of what we already implemented. But if it's refresher trainings, definitely. What we're not structured to do is if you have a lot of turnover in your contact center, that we do schedule or specific trainings.
Right, like quarterly on-site kind of thing. That we're not set up for. Yeah.
But that usually comes with a services engagement that can be done through the services team, but not the product delivery team. But I don't know if we answered that. We also didn't go through the process.
Just two, and just like
Yeah.
for a quick thing, there, I can't remember, I don't have the RFP in front of me.
Yeah.
Was there a worker like application or something, mobile app that they have? Is that part of it, or is that a buy-in? And lastly, the chatbot thing, is that, I don't have the extra thing in front of me.
It is, it's a line item on our response under virtual agent, but our suggestion and most of our customers prefer CityBot, which we can have just as a line item as.
Do you know roughly
part
that?
of our response.
When you say line item, what do you mean? Like, did that, they would come underneath you and you're selling us?
It can come on, but it's not a resale. I mean, it's just a pass-through to CityBot. I mean, there's a number of price adjustments from January of 22.
No, we understand that.
The web-only chatbot was 12,500. So I don't think even that was a big distinction between that and virtual agent response.
Is that one time or yearly?
That's the annual cost for CityBot, just for that little piece. They have other modules and functions, but just to have for it to be a one-to-one with the virtual agent.
As far as the implementation of it?
Implementation was 9,000, but I'm not sure if that also included the implementation for SMS chat as well, where it was SMS and web chat.
Yeah.
Or just web. I'll need to get clarification on that. And that was one of my takeaways was Daryl was to send a updated price list in terms of what we had responded with and what it is today. Nothing significant in my perspective, but it's really.
I'm just curious about the licensing structure.
So I think
the only quote we got was on enterprise users.
Correct.
Of course, we have people who are just using the back end,
Mhm.
the workers. We have a limited amount of agents.
Right.
And then we'll have people who just need read-only access, like the
Right.
Elected officials, stuff like that.
Sure. So we just always really careful of the light user concept or the team member, which is technically the Microsoft, because the team member, anything that's not an enterprise user is restricted use, right? They can't create a case if they're a team member license. There's some restrictions on that. So we try not to put that out there around the team member cost. Omar, I don't have it in front of me because I have too many screens and not enough time. I know you sent me, but we can follow up with the team member license cost.
Yeah, if you can follow up
Yep.
with.
And the
costs
updated
on the
costs.
Licensing,
Mhm.
the team member who needs a Microsoft Dynamics license.
Sure.
Can I purchase, you said there's resellers in here, but can we purchase them off of our EA agreement? Or do they have to be?
No, there's a variety of ways we can do it. So if you already have a thing, it's just, but then you also need to then have license. Then we have a user fee basically that's, if you already have the Dynamics licenses.
Yeah.
Right. So all comes out in the wash at the same, basically at the end of the day.
Right.
Because we're tacking on our own user license, if you will. So we'll send that and those kind of.
Yeah, I'm just curious because, I'm assuming the Microsoft Dynamics licenses will not be available on our tenant. They have to be on your tenant.
Right, and that's where you get really messy in terms of, SPLA and all this other stuff in terms of which licenses and how they're bought, that we just want to make sure that you don't go out and buy 50 enterprise licenses that can't be used in multiple domains.
No, so won't do anything.
Right.
So SSO and MFA, we use that.
Mhm. Yes. I think everybody that's every single customer is using SSO, whether it's a pass-through authentication where it's like in Savannah, Georgia, it passes to their SSO and then passes back the authentication tokens they put in the system.
It's pretty standard.
Right.
And if there was a field worker app that would be implied, that it should be something with a license that you're gonna get back to Daryl with, or is that not any?
Do you have a worker app?
Is there a worker?
Oh, worker app, I'm sorry. Yes, so Omar, Hector, I just wanted to provide clarity on that, on a Dynamics 365 mobile app. Would you say available but light support? Is that probably a good way of putting that?
I'd say we don't have a true field worker solution that works on any computer other than that mobile app for Dynamics or the screen that you just saw, which works on tablets.
So I mean,
But we do
the
have,
Dynamics app works, right?
yeah, yes.
So the Dynamics mobile,
app
there's a
works
mobile app
and
for
you can
that.
use it to
Just for the
put
end
on your
user. to be able to go
phone
there.
and update
Mhm.
requests and update notes and add
Turn the
pictures
lights
and
and
change
down.
status, all that. But what I'm
Yeah.
saying is as part of our roadmap for this year, is working on a true field worker app that works like Slider, where you don't really need to download an app and you just
And
use
easier
it
UI, yeah.
on your phone.
Which we didn't talk about, because there's a Dynamics 365 app for Outlook that can also
Yeah.
plug in, where you can do things like convert to cases and watch this email and tie it to the
We didn't talk
contact
about email,
record.
it's just so much.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I could,
Yeah.
just on security, we could talk for like 30 minutes.
But there is, people could email us at 311 and be converted right into a
Yes.
case.
Yes.
That is correct.
About like the social media.
Yeah, you'll hear it, it'll run, CityBot for social media. Now look, the Dynamics is omnichannel for customer service. So there are additional ways of doing that. We just feel like the cleanest way of doing that, garbage in, right? And the biggest problem with social media is it creates more work than what you're actually trying to accomplish. What you're trying to accomplish is like things like sentiment analysis and
And
you know,
it's unfiltered too.
right. And then it creates triage work for an agent or for the person getting it. You know, someone's complaining about a pothole in the city of Buffalo. What good does that do? I mean, a system that automatically scrapes and populates can kind of do, but like, what's the point? So that's where CityBot comes in and helps kind of answer questions, but also if it does turn into a case, then it can feed right into OneView. So that way you're still gathering the information that you need.
I want to give those who did not have a quick question or anything like that.
My only question is actually wanting to see how it integrates with IPS, which really wasn't shown. So, I mean, that's what my staff is gonna use.
Okay.
So.
We don't have,
And I will say this with the Department of Inspection, probably, the Department of Public Works, #1 customer internally, but they have the most
Like type.
high volume. Yeah, okay, you did get that. So I just,
over 14, so they require a different type of thing here because
sure.
you can, a building inspector can go in, there's multiple things. Right now, it sends it to them, they open and close it or whatever. I like to push and be a little more dynamic. I think they would like to be a little more dynamic, in terms of what's offering back to the residents are.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's what I was gonna look at. I don't have it. We can send you a screenshot or an example of what an integrated ticket into Infor would look like. Off the top of my head, I believe Peoria, we mentioned them earlier, Arizona uses Infor, and a number of others. I believe if that's, do you have the second page there? Because I handed out all my copies. The second page on Infor. So what that shows is if you kind of look at what you can expect is the mapping to all make sense in terms of passing the XY, where is it located, mapping the case type in the CRM to the case type in Infor, and then including any attachments, that sort of thing. And then this was when a comment is made in, what we're looking for is the status. So when the status changes in Infor, we will see that status and translate it to whatever the status is going to be in the CRM.
As far as information from.
Yeah, to the advantage of if you don't really have notifications in Infor or a third-party system, our CRM will let the customer know when something changed status, when an important note comes in, when it gets closed, sends out a survey, all those things that you would get additional because of that integration.
They're asking about permits.
Viewing abilities, like if somebody's calling in, maybe they may call in, they may not want to create a case because we may be able to see from Infor if we had access to their back out, see what's in there that property may already be in housing court.
Sure.
Maybe all they want to know about.
Does Infor publish can that publish to a like a REST file or something like that, where we can consume that as a layer? Consume that permit information as a layer?
It has an M4 obviously has an API.
Right. Well, no, I'm just curious if, because I know that a lot of them can have a like a permit, like a lot of states will have like a permit map where it's showing like permits requested or what have you, that will actually, so that way we can consume that as part of the intake, so we can just be, when they click on the map, it'll show that there's already a permit, yeah.
Properties in housing court, or whatever the current status is of the project.
I know.
We don't have anything.
Okay.
I know we are definitely, if you have anything from operators or open there. I want to say thank you for coming in and presenting, and going through this process for the next couple of weeks. There are quite a few vendors.
Mhm.
But we're gonna do apply, and we would have to you. So we're in the process of doing it. You are first. And so we do expect to reach out. If there's anything that you think we need part of here or
There
anything like
is,
that,
for sure.
please share that with the same email,
Mhm.
Francis, that we're on, that you think that you.
You also, if you have an API document, you can send that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
If you're allowed to do it.
Yeah. No, there's no, it is not, it's proprietary, but it's not, yeah.
Good.
So you said we have a number of things to follow.
Okay,
to
please.
send us follow-ups.
Closing statement.
Oh,
Pick us.
yeah, pick us. I think one of the things about CRM, I'll just wrap up with this, with OneView and the team, is that this is not something, bless you, that is, we are just delivering you a completed system at the end of the day that was designed. We asked you 600 questions, you gave us 700 answers, and we build you a system and say good luck. And, you know, we'll see you in training. It's really ongoing success. We want to get you on the right track today, but also we want to have ongoing success, because your success is our success. You know, I love Buffalo personally. You know, I grew up in New York. Thank you. And our
Bills fan or Jets fan?
and I know Buffalo.
He's down in Carolinas.
Yeah, now I'm in the Carolinas. But our system is designed for what you're going to use it for. The people that you're going to work with in implementation and support are the people who work with cities just like yours to do exactly the same things. And our integrations were designed around, from the CTI to Infor, Cisco, are all there. And at the end of the day, when you need to expand and when you need to do more, the OneView Dynamics team and the team that you're going to work with are the team that can help you get there without necessarily starting out the conversation with a change order.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you.
I would add to that a lot of what we do as part of improving our product is take feedback from all of our implementations. So there might be a feature that we don't specifically have, but you give us the idea, we think it would be great for the product, so we include it in our roadmap.
Yeah.
So all those things also come into hand. We learn a little bit from every implementation, and we also improve our product with every implementation.
Thanks, Omar.
Oh, no, thank you very much. Listen, thank you very much. I do have one last question. So for both Hector and Omar, it looks like you are in Puerto Rico. Where? Puerto Rico, ¿para dónde?
San Juan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part of the implementation, can we go to San Juan to?
We'll take you. We'll offer up training.
Schedule around January.
In Ocean View.
My grandmother grew up in Louisa, and when I go to Puerto Rico, I'm in Trujillo also.
Pues,
Actually in a small, even I say throughout an area called San Just, which is
I'm like 15 minutes from there, or less, by car.
All right.
Yeah, Roxala was started in Puerto Rico. It was the Caribbean or the Latin America or Central America Partner of the Year with Microsoft, like 10 years running kind of thing. And it is, I've been down there a number of times to meet with Omar and the team, and just vacation, having dinner at the Ceviche House. And
Definitely.
yes, so make that connection.
Well,
Thank
thank you guys, everyone. Thank you. It's been great. Thank you very much. I think I've recorded it. You've recorded. If you want to share that information back with us, you have a note taker there, and we will get back with everything.
Right. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Take care,
Great.
everybody.